Hare Krishna. Welcome to this next video on the summary study of the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. We are in chapter 6 of volume 1, the most beloved. In this chapter, there's a huge discussion, a debate, and an argument about Krishna's relationship with the Vrajavasis. And this debate is taking place in Dwarka, as we mentioned. This whole volume is about a quest that Narada Muni has taken to see who's the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy. And we left off where Narada Muni was with the Yadavas, and the Yadavas have directed him to Uddhava. They're saying that he's the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy. So Narada Muni sets off, and it's described that he's feeling all this ecstasy and all this prema. He's just been visiting all these very nice devotees, and he's seen great humility in each one of these devotees that he's visited. Now he's going to Dwarka. He's been to Dwarka before. He knows the quickest way to get there. He knows how to get to the inner city. Now Krishna, that day, for some reason, he was disturbed in mind and decided not to get out of bed. And all his devotees, his queens, Rukmini, Satyabhama, his Rohini and Devaki, Balaram, Uddhava, they all came to his quarters there, and they're all outside his quarters, and trying to understand for what reason has Krishna decided to stay in his bed. So they've naturally all come together. This is all Krishna's arrangement. He knows Narada Muni is coming, so by staying in bed, he's caused all his devotees to kind of assemble in this one location. And so they see Narada Muni coming, and they see that he's in this really astounding mood, this really special mood. And Narada Muni approaches them, and he asks them, "Where's Uddhava? I'd like to speak with Uddhava." And so Uddhava steps forward from this assembly, and Narada Muni says, "Surely you are the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy." And Uddhava replies that, "Surely if I'm the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, it is only because by Krishna's mercy he sent me to Vrindavan to see the residents there and to see how deep their love was for Krishna and how their mood of separation is so great, and that they're like corpses, literally. It's very difficult really for us to try to imagine this mood of separation. We try to relate to it. There's no way possible in our lives to try to relate it. But here in this story, we're trying to give some semblance of what it must be like to be in that depressed mood of love. Now, Rohini speaks up. So she says that she begins to blame Krishna a little bit for not going back to the residence. She lived there for a little while after Krishna left. Krishna went off to Sandamani's school. And then Vasudeva brought Rohini back to Mathura. And then when Krishna came back and Balaram came back from school, she said, you got to go back to Vrindavan. She's describing the scene, the despair that these Vrindavan devotees have fallen into, this deep depression, that their mood of love is so great that the mood of separation is intensified. Krishna says that there's no way I can go back right now. My work is not finished. If I went back and then turned around and just left, then there would be greater anxiety. It would be just cause even more problems. She's explaining this also to the other devotees there. Krishna's in the other room. He's hearing everything that's being said. Now, as she's talking, Padmavati interrupts. She has a completely different mood. They're trying to help Krishna here a little bit, trying to help these residents in Vrindavan. They're trying to encourage Krishna to try to go back so far, Uddhava and Rohini. This is their mood and their service. Padmavati has a different mood. She says, just see, since childhood, our Krishna has stayed in the forest full of thorns to guard the cows to those merciless cowherds. Just look at her offensive mentality. They never even gave him shoes. And if when tormented by hunger, he sometimes ate a little stuff made from milk. The cowherd women punished him by tying him up. They scolded him abusively. Because he was young, Krishna had no choice but to tolerate all this pain. But what does he have to do with those people now? She's very wicked-minded, very wicked. She's very envious of those residents of Vrindavan, where you see Uddhava now and Rohini are very compassionate. Now, Rohini, ignoring Padmavati's remarks, and went on speaking. She said, Krishna left and went to Mathura, the capital of the Yadus. He killed many enemies, and then he took some time and relaxed for a while. He became the king. She said, this Lord of yours no longer even thinks about the residents of Vrindavan. Now Rukmini speaks up. She's trying to bring out this mood of separation these residents have, and have Krishna mitigate that mood by returning. But Rukmini, she speaks up and says, what do you mean? All he thinks about it when he's dreaming at night is these residents of Vrindavan. I hear him in his sleep. Sometimes he asks his mother for some milk or some soft butter. And sometimes he calls out to me like I'm Radha or Lalita. Now Satyabhama, in a jealous mood, she says, Rukmini, why just at night? During the day, that's what he thinks about. He daydreams during the day about these residents of Vrindavan. She says that he seems to have his mind always on something else, as if dreaming. Indeed, we are his wives in name only. His young cowherd maidservants are in fact more dear to him than we are. So this is a little bit of a jealous. You see, people are coming here with a little bit different angle based on their relationship with Krishna and how they stimulate that relationship with Krishna. Balaram also blames Krishna for not going back. He talks about how he stayed for 2 months in Vrindavan. He says, I tried to restore the Vrajavasis to normal, but nothing I said or did was to no avail. He said, seeing no other way to achieve my purpose, I made hundreds of promises to them, and with great effort finally consoled them to some extent. Then I managed to pull myself away and hurried back here. And this is just a small sample of chapter 6. I would encourage you to read it and get the complete story. And we can see the debate that has taken place here. Krishna in the other room, he decides to get up and come into this assembly of devotees. These very intimate devotees of his. And Krishna says that it is true. My heart is made of solid diamond. It must be so because it is not yet split in half. Those devotees took care of me for so long, from the very beginning of my childhood, and still I have forgotten all about their exceptional love. They're all starting to get emotional, and they're getting Krishna also to state where he's, again, thinking about these residents of Vrindavan. And so their motivation is always to try to get him to go back, like Rohini said. Immediately she wanted him to go back. He says, be that as it may, I must somehow do something to help them. I have indeed been cruel to have caused them, those gentle souls, such extreme grief. So he asked Uddhava, who is there, and always he consults for advice. What is it that I should do? How can I deal with this? And he asked him to please lift me up from this ocean of grief, because Krishna is now becoming even more and more emotional. from hearing this discourse. And Devaki, she has a few things to say, and then Padmavati both try to give some advice to Krishna. Devaki says that you should give your best well-wishers whatever they want. And obviously we know that would be for him to go back. That's what they would. And Padmavati tries to change the mood. She says that, why should you lament, Krishna? Just listen to my advice. While living 11 years in the home of Nanda Gopal, you two brothers enjoyed various comforts. I swear, I will have my husband repay Nanda double for everything that he has given. If he is, whatever clothes he has given, whatever food he has fed you, whatever gifts you were given, we will calculate all these things together, and I will double it, and we will repay him. She's thinking materially that somehow economics is going to solve this problem. Uddhava, he advises Krishna to go back. He says the people of Raja desire nothing else but you. There's nothing else in response to Padmavati. He says, O Master, please turn your attention to this. Unless your two lotus feet make a blessed journey to Raja, there is no way to assure that your people of Raja will survive. People want nothing but your lotus feet. Now Padmavati and Rohini continue to quarrel. Parikshit, who's narrating this, continued to narrate the story to his mother. This is a story now that he's explaining to his mother, being retold by Jaimini Rishi to Parikshit's son, Gyanamenjaya. So Parikshit says that the befuddled Padmavati laughed at this, and she shook her head and burst out, "Aha, aha! Foolish Devaki, now I understand. She's thinking that somehow Uddhava has come under the control of these residents of Vrindavan, that when he visited them, they must have given him some gifts, right? And by doing so, they brought him under their control, and he's only responding this way because of that. So with the help of Uddhava, whom the cowherds have brought under control by gifts of milk, goods, these cowherds want to bring Krishna back to the forest. And that dangerous forest, hard to travel and full of thorns and vicious beasts, these good-for-nothings want to make him tend their cows. This is a very offensive mentality. She's calling these residents good-for-nothings. She has no idea how much love they have for Krishna. Her love, she has no love for Krishna. We can obviously, the comparison here is like vast. Rohini, who's Yasoda's friend, very dear friend, she gets angered by this, by what Padmavati is saying, and she replies, "O virtuous lady, if trees or other obstacles block Krishna from sight even briefly, his companions at once shed tears and call in anxious, drawn-out voices, 'O Krishna! O Krishna!'" We get the story from Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto, how the gopis cursed Brahma for creating these eyelids that for a fraction of a second blocked their vision of Krishna. And here Rohini is also describing how the cowherd boys, when they're walking through the forest, if it's a tree or a branch blocks their vision, they also get an anxiety for not seeing Krishna for a split second. So here again, the love that these residents have is being described. Parikshit said, having heard all this, the blessed Lord Gopal felt overwrought with worry for his devotees. Scorching anxiety dried up his lotus face. He was filled with dread. Baladev said, "Why speak only about the cows and other residents, dear Krishna? All the animals in Vraja are your beloved friends, and so also are the birds and the trees. There's no living entity in Vrindavan that does not have love for Krishna and is not at this moment feeling separation from Krishna. Having heard this, Krishna, who is gentle by nature and tormented by the suffering of others, grasped Balaram by the neck and shed a flood of tears like a person whose life is in ruin. As he cried with loud sobs, his beautiful voice, the tears washed away the cosmetics of his body. So now Krishna is in a completely emotional state. They brought him in this state, talking about the residents of Vrindavan, and talking about the love these residents have for Krishna, talking about the mood of separation, how they're actually living. They're like dead corpses almost in Vrindavan out of their mood of separation. Now, we can see that they were actually successful, Balaram and Uddhava and Rohini, in bringing out this mood. Now, Narada Muni has watched all of this. Narada Muni is in this quest to who's the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, is not seen in none of these previous devotees that he visited such great mood of separation that's being described here by Balaram and Uddhava and Rohini. So he's now actually understanding who is the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy. This ends this chapter, and in the next chapter, we're now in this condition where everybody's crying. All the residents of Dwarka are crying. Everybody's hearing this loud crying, and all the other residents are coming. They're seeing this sobbing and this deep mood that these residents are in, and it's also affecting them to the state that it's actually Lord Brahma is now seeing omens, and he wants to find out what is the cause of this. So he leaves Brahmaloka and he comes to Dwarka, and he tries to solve this problem. And that's going to be in chapter 7. He'll have Vishvakarma create a Nava Vrindavan, a new Vrindavan, and we'll talk about that, and then talk about what Brahma does to try to help alleviate this situation that's been created. So thank you very much. I hope you return for chapter 7. All glories to Sri Krishna and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.